Why is that? No? Okay, good. All right, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Footy Rivals. It's round 10 this week, which is last round before the buys start.
That it certainly is, my friend.
Since the last episode, a lot has happened in the footy world, but not much this week. It pretty much all happened over the weekend.
We got some catching up to do.
Yeah, much.
That was a busy weekend.
Should we start with our questions first?
Yes, I think we should.
And then what we may do is move on to that.
Yes. Our flavour of the evening is just basically hot.
Our flavour?
And my flavour. For those who don't know, I'll actually be eating a bit of Tabasco sauce because I got my certainty tip wrong. So every week we go through our 50-50 games and we pick a certainty among one of those 50-50s. I made the mistake of picking the Bulldogs, not knowing that Brad Scott would
it came out of nowhere. But
get out of there and charge his team up. But yes, we will address that
soon. So, Justin, what's your question you're going to lay down for me? And just quickly, hi X, welcome. It's good to see you again every week, man. You're here every single week, so thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, man. We appreciate that. My question to you is going to be, I'm interested in the Tigers this week. For some reason, I've been captured by Richmond.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I looked at them. I think they're in the top four as it stands at the moment.
They are, yes. They're fourth, yep.
My question to you is, at full tilt, the Tigers are the best team in the AFL, better than Collingwood, better than Geelong, better than West Coast, better than, who sits third at the moment? Is that West Coast that's third at the moment?
No, West Coast is fifth, so GWS.
GWS, they're better than all of them, at full tilt, no injuries, even with every side at full tilt, with no injuries. I need you to make a reason as to why Richmond are the best, because I personally have been super impressed by them getting to where they are with the amount of injuries they've had.
I'm glad you're impressed, and you've thrown me under the bus with that one, because I'm not so much impressed. But I will argue for you.
Excellent.
On the topic of coaches being sacked, and I think this year is probably going to be a big year for it, potentially. It's going to be a very big talking point.
We've been very stable with coaching for a couple of years, haven't we? So it's time.
I think that the Saints coach, Alan Richardson, is possibly next on the chopping block. I want you to tell me why he's not and why he stays.
Okay. That actually is... so I feel bad because I've thrown you under the bus, but you haven't thrown me under the bus.
That's okay, because I've got some stuff that I want to go through that I want to see if you can counter. So instead of you answering that question first, I'm going to bring up my own stuff.
Okay.
And see if I can't sway that mentality before you jump in with some positive stuff on it.
Okay.
So I've changed it up a bit this week. Now, before we go into any other news or anything like that, we're gonna get this done. You're going to try and go through the entire episode under some heat.
Yes. No. What are we
You're going to be the Tiger Tamer.
Yeah.
Now, yes, so we did actually do, it should be noted, and Justin's good for fronting up here because he has actually already done his punishment. We did record it. We did a video. It was going to be released this morning, but unfortunately the footage of the video became corrupt and we couldn't use any of it. So he has actually done this already. You just haven't seen it. And he's been good enough to front up and take his medicine again.
Let it never be said that I don't throw my hand up for the challenge.
This time, he's probably going to have a bit more than he did on the Tuesday. And he's not going to have an out because on the Tuesday, we gave him a bowl of ice cream for when he couldn't cope with it anymore. He doesn't have that option this week. And he's just going to go the entire hour or thereabouts because we tend to go a bit longer than an hour.
Yeah, maybe let's stick to the hour this time and we'll be fine.
With this running through your system.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to take the logical approach again because obviously you guys haven't seen the first video, and I really just tried to talk myself through it. It didn't work that well, but I'm just going to try it again.
Now that's more than what you had last time, right?
All right.
That's quite a bit more than what you had last time.
So we're going up, down the hatchet.
This will teach you for getting your certainty wrong.
Yeah, this is the double punishment. And like I said in our video on Tuesday that people haven't seen.
I popped that right there.
Just in case we want some more. I hate the Bulldogs and I hate Brad Scott. Okay, thank you.
Down we go, down the hatch. Whilst that's
significantly hotter than Tuesday night already.
That's because you've got Bourne on there, yeah.
Significantly hotter. Do you want to just put this up
Yeah,
here?
go for it, yeah. All right,
wow.
So
okay.
We're going to start things off. Now, very interesting, the fixture this week.
It is very interesting.
There are two... there are two points that I want to point out to you for this week's fixture, okay? There are only 3 games in Melbourne this week. 1 in Marvel... and 2 at the MCG.
Yeah.
There's another game being played down at Cardinia as well.
Given that we have Melbourne playing in Darwin and Port Adelaide and St Kilda playing the China
St Kilda
game.
playing their home game in China, that's right.
Yes.
But we have no games in Adelaide. So this is Port Adelaide's scheduled... it's not supposed to be their scheduled away game. It's supposed to be their home game, but they sold it to the Saints. But why haven't the AFL fixtured Adelaide to just stay at home? Because Adelaide has no home games. There's no footy played in Adelaide this week, and that's a huge loss. That's a huge loss of 50,000 people, patrons, coming and seeing the footy.
It baffles me because, excuse me, my throat's just on fire. It baffles me because I just footy drives the city of Adelaide. I actually think. Maybe outside of a packed MCG, they've got the best atmosphere in the competition for home games for either Adelaide or Port Adelaide. It's a real swing and miss by the AFL, isn't it? It would have been quite easy to fixture. It's a very strange decision. It would have been very, very easy to fixture around it. You've got a vacant ground, just make it happen. I don't know if something else is going on at Adelaide Oval that's big to the city of Adelaide, but I doubt that it trumps footy in that state. I've got no idea. They've whiffed on it for mine.
I think it's a really big downfall that the AFL's let slip here. Missing a game in the AFL, because it contributes to a huge amount of revenue.
Huge.
Just for the AFL itself.
I don't know what their average crowds are. I don't know the statistics behind
I'm not
it,
sure.
But they always have a good crowd.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Always. It's a capacity
I would say
of 55, is it?
Something like that. I would say that they're, an Adelaide home game would draw... maybe 40,000.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I wouldn't think that's and you compare that to Adelaide versus Melbourne up in Darwin, drawing 10,000.
Yeah, it'd be about that.
That's a bit of a fuck. Yeah. And I know that it's Melbourne's home game. I thought it was a shot glass of Tabasco. No, not that much. Jesus Christ. He's struggling.
I'm actually already struggling, Hayek, so just calm down there, man. I've done it twice. It basically is a shot glass.
I don't understand the logic behind the AFL on this one.
I think the Darwin game, in terms of only getting a small crowd in Darwin...
it's good for the community based games and everything.
That I can understand.
It's a Melbourne home game, I understand that.
And Melbourne are keen to get up there.
Why didn't they flip this around and make this an Adelaide home game and do the Darwin game outside of this round? Yeah. That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Why do Darwin and China same round?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. Mate, one thing I wanted to ask you, in terms of the Gold Coast Suns, who you've actually been quite supportive of on this show.
I have been, yes.
In fact, we both have. We really like them when they're at Metricon, and they're really good. Right now, as the ladder stands, I believe they are the bottom team of the 3-win teams. So there's 4 3-win teams. I believe it's something like Sydney, Melbourne... I can't remember the fourth off the top of my head. Gold Coast, and there's a fourth one. But I can't remember. There were 4 of them.
The Saints, would it?
No, I don't.
Saints might have 4 wins.
I don't think it's the Saints. But there were 4. It might be the Dogs.
Possibly. I think they might have 4 as well, though.
Oh, potentially. There were 4 of them, and I wanted to ask you: are the Gold Coast, although they're on the bottom of those teams, they could be the best 3-win team? I think, I suppose, yeah. And the way they've performed, games have been close. I know they're on the bottom of that group because of percentage, clearly.
Well, they're on the bottom of that from percentage because the wins that they've had have only been by 1 point.
Yeah.
2 points.
Absolutely.
They haven't had big wins.
Yeah, and that makes a 20-point loss feel like a 40-point loss.
In saying that, they've only had maybe 2 losses that have been more than 20 points, I want to say.
Right.
So their losses their losses have been fairly close as well.
Yeah.
And then those 2 losses that have been by more than 20 points, I think one was about 23 and one was a blowout.
Right, yeah.
That drops their percentage considerably.
Yeah.
Because of how tight that their scoring has been. No, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. They've been probably the more they've been the most consistent.
It's a very good way to put it.
Sitting in that. The other teams, I feel, can and have played better throughout the year, but they've also played far and away a lot worse.
Yeah.
Whereas Gold Coast have been very much consistent this year so far.
Specifically, Melbourne has showed glimpses of almost getting back to what they were, but then been terrible.
The key word you use there is glimpses. They're not even close to being what they were last year. Actually, there was an interesting statistic that came up on, I want to say on the couch on Monday morning.
Yeah.
And they brought about the fastest playing teams in the AFL. I don't know whether you've seen it or not.
I haven't.
But basically, the statistic was teams that play on at all costs. Okay,
Yeah.
and the teams that play on at all costs. So the number 1, 2, and 3 team, I think, are respectively 18, 17, and 16.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
On the ladder. You counterverse that, and the slowest moving teams, Geelong, West Coast, and I think maybe Collingwood from the top of my head, are all right up there.
Wow.
That's a far cry from the way that footy has usually been played in fast-paced, you go play on it all. You go a couple of years ago, and the teams that were playing on all the time were the more dominant teams in the competition, whereas it's flipped now.
It's a far away from how footy's. It's a far cry from how footy's perceived still.
Yeah.
It's a funny statistic that can currently be happening. Yet coaches, players, everyone's always talking about pushing the tempo, upping the pace. The teams you mentioned at the top, Collingwood, West Coast, and who was the third one there? Geelong.
I wouldn't perceive. See, I can perceive West Coast and Collingwood playing slow
because they know how to play both ways.
When I think of Geelong, I think of them playing fast footy.
Probably
quick. Because it's a sentimental thing going back to their heyday about a decade ago.
Potentially,
but I never imagined them being the slowest play-on team in the competition.
I look at players they've got, and although these players might not have leg speed. Potentially, maybe that's where they're getting this from. Players like Mitch Duncan and Tui and players like that around the ground, not the fastest by leg, but in terms of moving the footy, I would have thought supremely fast.
High skill,
But maybe they just do it skillfully and we just think they're going fast.
They're taking the statistic from playing on. So mark the ball, play on. As opposed to mark the ball, take your kick.
Yeah.
It's play on at all costs sort of thing. Those teams that are doing that and not taking their time to go through and they're just trying to cut through with handballs and stuff, they're failing.
Yeah. And those are
which was Melbourne's go-to game style last year.
Yes.
And it was Richmond's go-to game style the year before. And it's fallen apart this year for all of the teams that are trying to do it, which I find very interesting. I want to know.
I do, yeah.
I'm curious as to how much the new rules have played into that, whether it's played into it at all.
Well, it's funny because the new rules were designed around making the game faster, weren't they? You don't have to kick to yourself out of full back. You can, the zones can play up a little more.
The zone's just been pushed back further. So I think actually that might be something that's contributing to it.
Could be something that plays a part.
You used to be able to handball, get like 3 or 4 chain handballs and then kick over the back.
Yes.
You can't do that anymore.
No. It's funny. It's really funny that ball use is somewhat even more to account now. But I'd say that even teams that move it fast and play high risk, high reward, and teams that do it well, I would say are middle of the pack. I look at Fremantle itself. They're playing on at all costs every time they get the footy.
Yeah,
and it's really high risk, high reward, and it's got them in the middle of the pack. They're 5-5 from it, but teams that can control the tempo on their own terms and probably do look to slow it down.
And are able to slow it down.
Yeah, West Coast and Collingwood, for example, they can slow it down at will when they're on. Very hard to counter that with trying to play fast. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's where it's coming from, I don't know. But that stat's very interesting.
Fair enough. Got any... Because I've come in totally unprepared this week.
That would make
Before we jump into things like the Brad Scott stuff, do you have any other things that you've noticed.
Some things with the news. We had the mid-season draft during the week.
We did, actually. I took a little bit of... So I'm not knowledgeable. I don't really care too much for draft. I tend to stay away from the knowledge of it, but you're quite interested in it.
I'm interested in the drafts. Particularly this mid-season draft interested me because being the local footy report, you kind of have to know your state league compared to your country local league because it's a pathway directly there. I was really happy to see Marlian Pickett get picked up despite his injury. I thought with his injury he might go unpicked. He's got a broken finger, so he's still going to be out.
Wasn't it a re-break of a finger?
Something like that.
So he's only just come back from a re-broken finger, just to re-break it again. I think he's out for 6 weeks or something like that, isn't he?
6 to 8 it could have been. He's just moved in with Dustin Martin, so what better way to learn your craft. Yeah, but I was really happy to see the Tigers pick up the South Freo boy. But outside of that, I thought the questionable one I had was Fremantle picking up Dylan O'Reilly. Yeah, who is a tall forward and he sort of fits the mould they need. But talent-wise, I mean, he's recently been playing at the reserves level.
So one of the big blights on this mid-season draft that I've read and heard is that most of the picks that have been picked up are young kids.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so if you're unaware of how the mid-season draft actually works, you're paying the players $50,000 for the year, which is less than what a new draftee
would get, I believe, somewhere around 80 to 100 grand, depending on their pick.
Like that, and then if at the end of the year the player, the club wants to keep the player, they can, or they get first choice at it. But if they don't want to keep the player, they have to pay the player an extra $20,000. Yes. And then they are free to do whatever they want to. So this, by quite a few clubs, has been seen as a bit of just a top up to their youngsters, and development players for a super low cost.
Yeah, which in terms of Fremantle's
kind of not what it was designed to do.
It was designed to bolster the lists of people on the cusp of achieving something. To go, hey, here's an experienced guy playing state league footy, and that's where I think Fremantle, while they went out and got a young key position player with Dylan O'Reilly, who might turn out fine. I really don't know. We're completely in the dark with this mid-season draft on most players. I just thought that they probably could have gone out and got someone to help address their midfield. The one that screamed out to me was Claremont's Jai Bolton, who's won 2 Sandover medals. Yeah. Who's a midfielder who's kind of silky. Never really played at the AFL level. There's nothing to say he would have come in and made waves, but they need a midfielder. They need experience in the midfield.
Anyone... Yeah, and Michael Barlow kind of proved this himself. Anyone can come into the system and play contested footy.
Yes.
Which is what Freo need help with.
Yes.
Their outside midfielders are more than capable of doing what they're doing. But
absolutely.
Fife needs a chop out and he needs some help on the inside. And any decent contested midfielder playing at state level can come in to the AFL and play that same role. I actually thought Michael Gibbons from Carlton would be doing that, but he's playing in the forward line. I don't understand.
Yeah,
they've just picked up Josh DeLuca.
Yeah,
as a midfielder.
Which I was happy to see him get picked up. He's really
does he come in and play straight away? Because as far as I'm aware, the only player that's actually been confirmed to play this weekend is from the Bulldogs.
I forget his name now.
I don't know.
But
that's why I said the player from the Bulldogs.
Touche. I'm not 100% sure if Carlton picked DeLuca or not.
I'm pretty sure it was DeLuca. Because
no, they definitely took him in the mid-season. I meant to play this weekend. Yeah. I don't know if they've named him to play. Maybe wait another week. He does have to move into state, so I
suppose.
But I think he'll be playing footy soon enough if he's not named this
because he is a former AFL listed player.
And he was quite good at Fremantle. There was nothing that he did at Fremantle that screamed, hey, let's delist this kid. It's just one of those decisions that Fremantle made that you kind of still question. And he's a tough guy. He's a tough kid. He was really in and under, and he's just been outstanding for both Pio and Subiaco at the waffle level. He's won 4 waffle premierships now. I'm really excited to see him get his next chance. And I think he can actually offer Carlton just a bit of a steady head. His ball use isn't terrible. It's not overly great, but it's not terrible. So I'd be very interested to see how he's going to go moving forward with Carlton.
I would be very interested to see whether he just changes the way that their midfield plays.
Yeah.
How much of an impact does he make on that midfield?
I don't think too much, because...
Is he... Because so I don't know much about Josh DeLuca as a player, okay? He obviously didn't play very much for Fremantle.
He played 3 or 4 games,
So you would be more knowledgeable on him than what I would be. Is he able to actually help Cripps out? Or is he not that kind of player?
I think he is, but not with a massive impact. I think he's a player that fits into their best 22.
Because he's been a couple of years out of the system.
Yeah, he has. Right? I think this would be his second year after
he's
being
gotten older, he's matured up a bit, so he might be able to.
He'll get you enough possessions.
Yeah.
He'll get you 20 plus possessions, I would imagine, after maybe spending a couple of weeks to find a rhythm in there. He's not going to be lifting the burden of Cripps or anything, but he's certainly going to help out. I watched more of his games at Peel Thunder than I ever did at Fremantle, because he only played 3 or 4 Fremantle games. And he finds the footy easy enough. He really puts tackles on quite well. So he does all the things that you would think help a star without him becoming the star of a team or anything like that. No one's expecting him to do that. But I think he helps, and I think he definitely fits in their best 22. And he can make a name for himself there. He's got a chance to do that now.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. Speaking of the mid-season draft, how do you feel about a mid-season trade period?
It depends on how it works.
Yeah.
That's really the big thing about it.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I quite like the idea of it. As long as it's not being abused for... I suppose one of the biggest concerns with free agency in and of itself was that lower clubs were going to be raided to top up the higher, more financially sound clubs, which, to be perfectly honest, hasn't really happened, in my opinion.
No, not really, no. I don't think so.
I think Hawthorn got a bad rap, and they only actually ever took 1 or 2 free agents in their three-peat time.
Yeah.
They didn't actually take any free agents or anything like that. My only concern, I suppose, would be if a player of, say, high caliber that comes out of contract this year. So, okay, let's go to last year's as an example.
The trade period.
Tim Kelly at Geelong.
The exact one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Wants to go back to West Coast. Doesn't want to wait till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Just get it over and done with. He goes over. Let's say West Coast, they're up there and abouts, and he just puts that final polish on. That would leave a slight sour taste in my mouth. I think, if it was used in that regard, I think.
Don't get me wrong.
I think it's supposed to be designed. It's not only designed, and this is what I think people need to. It's not even a thing yet, but it would need to be carefully designed so that lesser clubs can also get players in who are of the same ilk. They don't want to see out their contract at that club because they're going to be going at the end of the year anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just get it done. And they can help improve that lesser team immediately as opposed to next year.
It's almost like if you were to see the Mitch McGovern deal be done mid-season or something like that.
That would be a good one, I think. Yeah, if that would be a good scenario. Or you get the fringe players who are not getting game time, who are probably good enough to be getting game time in a slightly lesser team or a different team that has positional value for them, to be able to go and actually play some footy. That would be a good one as well. But we do know that the system would be abused by some, but
absolutely.
That's not the be-all and end-all crux of it, I think.
And that's sort of, I think you're right. I think the majority of trades that get done there would be ones that fell through in the trade period in the off-season, and they've come to players who, and this cancels Tim Kelly out because he's been amazing this season, but players who have just sort of not shown up for the club because they didn't get their trade or even have moved away from footy.
If it was like a Bryce
clubs
Gibbs
are going to cut their losses.
And Bryce Gibbs last year at Carlton wasn't panning out the way that either party wanted, they'd probably move him on mid-season.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the option was available to them. But I also think this mid-season draft has potentially soured the mouth a bit.
Yeah.
Because it was, I feel it was kind of taken advantage of a bit.
I
not
think
used
so.
the way that it probably should have been.
No, not used the way it was intended for.
Yeah.
There is that, yeah.
But in saying that, the AFL is probably one of the most useless organisations in trying to plan something out so it's not taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Everything they do is half-assed, gets taken advantage of, and then clubs get penalised because they did the things within the rules, regardless of what the spirit is. I don't like the term "within the spirit of the game," within the spirit of the
within
rules.
the rules is where you operate.
I hate that term.
And it's a club's job in any sport.
Winning is within the spirit of the game.
To tilt the competitive advantage in your favour. That is the club's job at any cost, and they can do that, which I think they would with a mid-season trade period. Speaking of trade talk, came out during the week that the Dogs are likely to target both Isaac Smith and Jack Martin in a trade. Immediate thoughts?
Isaac Smith is on the wrong side of 30 now. I think he's 30 now.
I think so.
He's getting on.
Yeah.
Strange pick to go for. I mean, don't get me wrong, 30 is no longer a sentence for the death of
and he is still a quality player, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it just seems an odd target to go for considering the Dogs' current age list. You'd be looking for someone of Jack Martin's age, or maybe a little bit old, maybe somewhere in like 27, 28 sort of age. 30 seems to be a bit old. Isaac Smith's a quality player.
Yeah, and he's always going to
will be for a few more years. I would say because of the way that he plays, he's a running winger. That he's going to lose that ability to just run and run and run and run and run.
Absolutely.
When does it happen? He's now the wrong side of 30. It's probably going to happen sooner than later.
It's my immediate thought is why are they targeting?
Jack
guys
Martin,
that are
I
runners.
understand. I like Jack Martin target.
And even if you had a player that was already in Jack Martin's caliber, like position, you would bring him in anyway because he's super talented.
Yeah, super talented. He hasn't reached any kind of height.
I feel like he needs a change of scenery, Jack Martin.
I'm not sure.
And I like what's going on at the Gold Coast, but I feel like he might need a change of scenery to spark him into action.
You'd think maybe a change of scenery or a change of coach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Potentially. But Stuart is doing a good job. You would think he'd be able to...
And he is that change of coach.
Yeah, he was the change of coach.
Jack Martin hasn't sprung up.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's been dealing with injuries, because he does tend to get injured a fair bit, which may have hampered him as well.
My immediate thoughts were similar. They're good players. But why? Aren't there other needs that the Dogs can address? I'm certain there is something.
I think the Dogs need a new coach.
We've got Hayek says 3 to 4 years at least left in Smith.
And he probably will be playing for 3 to 4 years. But I don't think he'll be playing good for 3 to 4 years. I think he's got maybe another 2 years of playing good, top tier footy, and then he'll probably drop off the last 2 years of his playing career or something. And not drop off to the point where he's just unplayable. But he's not going to be as good as what he is. Is what I'm trying to say.
And also, if I'm the Bulldogs and I'm going to go to a club and try and deal for a player that's above 30 years of age, the last club I want to go to is Hawthorn, because they're probably going to pilfer me in some way. They're really good at organising a deal. They're probably going to take some talented young kid I've got. I don't want to go to Hawthorn with that.
Are one of the worst run organisations in the competition.
Yeah,
I feel.
I don't. This is an example. I don't understand why your prime targets. You're talking about these are going to be the top 2 guys that you go for in the trade period. Why are you not targeting key position players for starters?
Which is exactly what they need.
Why?
Their midfield is elite.
Yeah. And you're not going to...
They've got one of the best midfields in the competition.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking.
Their midfield is fantastic. That's why I can see them going after Jack Martin. Yeah, a guy that can play forward and score a few more goals. Adds a new dynamic.
I feel like they have forgotten that they themselves got raided of key defenders a couple of years ago. Yeah. And they're just no, we've got them.
Yeah. Who?
Where? Where are they? You've just lost the key forward, Tom Boyd.
Aaron Norton's playing wherever he can to just fix a leak in the hose.
Jackson Trengove is not a replacement for any position on the ground. He is a stopgap.
You've lost Marcus Adams as well is another one.
You got Marcus Adams. You've got... who was the other one in their premiership team?
Hamling.
Yeah.
Hamling's out.
And they were
he's
gone.
at the Dockers now. So.
Yeah, so they don't have any key position stocks.
No, and they really need to be targeting him through the trade because you've already drafted Norton. He's going to come along quicker than you expect, which he already is.
And you can't draft.
Surround him with someone who's already ready, not someone who you then have to draft again and make Norton wait another 3 years.
A team of this list profile age cannot be drafting key position players. They need to be trading them in.
Yeah.
To be able to compete. Because by the time that if they draft key position players, by the time that they develop, this midfield is going to be...
past its peak.
Yeah, it's going to be past. Then they're going to have to draft for midfielders. It's just going to be a recurring
And they've never
result.
really, outside of Tom Boyd, gone out and just pursued key
Well, they
position,
never pursued Tom Boyd.
Yeah, that kind of fell into their lap a little.
Yeah.
Like,
That
as much as they loved it, it kind of fell into their lap.
It was a perfect story for them, really.
Yeah, it really was.
They had to lose their coach and captain to get Tom Boyd.
Yeah. So they didn't just have him come along.
So what are they
going
to What are they going to lose to the Hawks
to bring in Isaac
to get
Smith,
Isaac Smith?
Who you already got guys doing a better job of what he's doing. It baffled me to say the least.
Yeah,
it baffled me.
No, I don't understand, but I will get back to the Dogs.
Yes,
and talk about them with the St Kilda question I gave you. I think it's time to move into this weekend's games and analyse and go through and give some new certainties this week. How are you going, by the way?
It's actually had a bit of a second kick, like about 3 or 4 minutes ago.
You burped up some or something.
Yeah, it comes and goes. It's like getting a second wind of just pure heat.
That's funny.
But that initial hit really that got me better than the one on Tuesday. I must say.
Next time we're gonna have to go for like a full spoon or something.
Yeah, I feel like a comedic value. We've got to take.
Okay, so on Friday night footy tomorrow night, North Melbourne takes on Richmond at Marvel Stadium.
Yes, they do. North have got no change.
Yep.
And for Richmond, in comes Butler, Soldo, and Cochin. Yep. And out goes Menadue, Rioli, and Coleman Jones.
Why is Rioli going out? What's he done? He's only come back
I'm
for one
not 100% sure. He maybe re-injured. I mean, it's got to be.
There's no way he's being dropped. Have they brought him in underdone then?
No. Actually, sorry, it does say here he's been omitted. What did Daniel Rioli do that was so wrong?
After one, why would you omit a player after one game?
I'm really
of
not
Daniel
sure
Rioli's caliber as well. That doesn't make sense. Maybe they brought him in underdone, and he just needs a couple of weeks.
In which case, you would think they would say that he's been managed, but
8 out of 9 last week. Bulldogs let me down. Good one, Ryan.
You think they let you down, Hayeks?
He's the one that tipped the Dogs last week.
I had more than the Bulldogs let me down last week, let me tell you, but they were the ones that really let me down.
I actually said North were a good chance, and that was before Brad Scott got the sack.
I remember penning them in as my certainty, and you looked at me cockeyed, and I was like, "Hey, what's up here?"
I actually did. I was like, "Wait, really?" This is not a certain game.
I was high on the Dogs.
Think North are going to take
high on the Dogs, and now I've got nothing but sour, spicy taste.
North
for
Melbourne take on Richmond at Marvel Stadium on the back of now having a new interim coach. So it's not their old coach's last game; it's their new interim coach's first game.
Right?
Can they get up over Richmond Tigers?
Nah, I don't think so. No, not with Richmond's ins. Like I know they've dropped Rioli, which we can't get past.
To me.
But Soldo comes back in, provides a boost to the ruck.
100%.
Cochin comes back in, provides a
specifically
massive boost
against
to the midfield.
Goldstein, who last week
was very good.
Completely towelled up a ruckless Dogs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he did, and they need someone to compete. Can't go with a young kid against that. Not when you're in the race for top 4. If they're like a bottom feeder team, I'd understand them wanting to give a young kid a lesson.
Which is interesting as well, because Soldo himself is not a...
No, he's by no means
not a key
prolific.
But it's only his, second or third game.
Yeah, so there you go. They kind of are giving him a lesson. But
So, actually, this could be very interesting. Oh, no, it's not the Dogs, sorry. I was thinking he was coming up against Team English Dogs.
No.
That's not...
Up
that would have
against
been an
Goldstein.
interesting contest, though.
But also coming back for Richmond is Dan Butler as well, which is
huge.
an upgrade.
Which is obviously... Who is taking Rioli's
the Rioli spot. So what do we got? Butler for Rioli, Cochin for Menadue, and Soldo for Coleman Jones.
Yeah.
Those are all 3 good ins.
I wouldn't say
the Rioli
upgrades.
one maybe not an upgrade.
I don't,
Rioli to Butler maybe not an upgrade, but
I'd have to
certainly
take a look
adequate.
the Tigers' actual forward line to see why he's been pushed out of the forward line.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Because I'm sure he
maybe
could take someone else's spot.
Maybe there's a story somewhere along the lines that we've missed there, but I'm going to go Richmond.
Maybe he wants to go to the Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richmond for me as well.
Yeah, I think Richmond, I believe I back them in to win by about 5 goals in my tipping. I think they'll break away eventually.
Yeah.
If not early, and then maybe North Melbourne makes it a scrap
I don't
fight.
think this is going to be a good first game for Reece Shaw.
Probably not.
It's Reece Shaw?
Reece Shaw.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Heath Shaw's still playing.
What do you make of Reece Shaw? Is he the guy to... You think he's going to do well? No, he's only been named as an interim coach,
He's an interim coach, yeah. It was either going to be him or Crocker, who's already done it for North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Back when... Brad Scott was... before Brad Scott was actual coach. So he was in between... Was it Laidley and Scott?
Well, it must have been.
It was Dean Laidley before Brad Scott, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was.
I think it was.
Going back a while.
It's 2009 is when Brad
10
Scott
years,
was...
right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, anyways,
Can't remember the
Richmond
last time
can-
North Melbourne had a Friday night game, but going for Richmond. North Melbourne played on Good Friday, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this will be their third Friday night game
Yeah.
for the season. They played Good Friday, and they had one earlier in the year. Well, they had one against Sydney only a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah, so this will be their third for the year.
But Richmond for me as well. I can't see any way that North Melbourne, unless they come out with some kind of prolific energy and just completely break apart a Richmond team.
Just carry on from what they did last week.
To be perfectly
maybe,
honest, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that you said that Richmond to you have been impressive, but they haven't looked impressive to me in their games this year.
Right.
They've looked... I would compare them to West Coast.
Yeah.
In that they've just looked off, but have been getting wins.
Which to me is probably the impressive part, given the amount of injuries
I suppose, but they're not playing impressive footy, is my point, which does leave the door open for a potential North Melbourne win. So that's my only concern. If Richmond win, they win by about 5-6 goals, if not bigger.
Yeah, it could be bigger
but
by
I
the end.
can see a potential upset in this.
I feel like
it's not as clear cut as...
I feel like North's midfield has been better recently.
Yes.
Cotton comes in and makes Richmond's midfield much better. So to me, I mean, maybe not because it's his first game back.
Yeah, after a pretty serious hamstring.
But I feel like, he just takes them another level.
Yeah.
If he's on, and it makes it very hard for North.
It would be very interesting to see the dynamic of the midfield, considering Dusty's starting to get some form.
Yeah.
How much Cochin potentially disrupts that.
Yes. Yeah. Is that... Yeah. They've played a lot of footy together. You would think hopefully it doesn't.
But over the last 18 months, Dusty has not played good footy with Cochin.
Not while Cochin's been in the side.
And since Cochin went out, Dusty started playing good.
Yeah.
So if, does it disrupt it? And if it does, how much does it disrupt Martin? Because I feel like Martin playing good is better for Richmond than Cochin playing good.
Yes, yeah.
So, balancing that could be interesting. Next game, Saturday morning for us, Saturday afternoon, first Saturday game. Collingwood takes on Fremantle at the MCG.
Yep.
Both clubs came off of some pretty good wins over the weekend as well.
They did. I thought Collingwood could have probably won by more, but Sydney really took it to them, and I don't think it was Collingwood's fault in the end. Like, Collingwood, 7-point win, you could look at and go like, oh, Collingwood should have won by more.
Sydney played very...
Sydney played good footy.
I feel like Sydney lost that game as opposed to Collingwood won that game.
Yes.
Partly because of Grundy, let's be fair. He's been a strange cat this year.
It's been something that we haven't
He's always been, don't get me
before.
wrong, he's always been a strange cat, but he's been, like, he's tilted this year or something.
He's got something in him, like he had a point to prove that he was better than Max Gawn or something. Anyways, the good thing for Collingwood is they bring in some pretty good players in Darcy Moore, Jordan De Goey and Travis Varco. And out goes Wells, Tragic, Magin, and Wills. So, pretty big ins for Collingwood there with Moore and De Goey. Tend to think that this is going to be very tough for Freo.
I don't see Fremantle getting up on this one. I suppose the big expanses of the MCG might help Freo out in changing their game plan. If they
Potentially.
if they can actually use the width of the ground, it suits their forwards better than it suits Collingwood's forwards.
Yes.
With the added effect that Fremantle's defence is very good. So is Collingwood's, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's a very good defence as well. I still think Fife wins the overall midfield battle, but Fremantle's midfield itself is lesser.
Fife to shine, Fremantle to still struggle against a very talented
if
Collingwood
Fremantle
midfield.
can spread well enough, their forward line can do the rest of the job. I just don't see it happening. We haven't seen any evidence of it happening besides round 1 this year.
No.
I can't see it happening this year.
I do think the MCG favours Freo in a bit that they love to run. But the battle for me in this one's just the tilted Brodie Grundy going against Rory Lobb. Lobb needs to leap above him. There's got to be some... Lobb has to at least... I'm not going to say he has to win this battle. He's not going to win this battle.
No, he's not.
But he needs to compete in this battle.
The way that... Okay, so an interesting call that I heard on Grundy during their game on Friday night was that I think it was Callum Sinclair was on him. Callum Sinclair was playing the man too much instead of just going for the ball,
right? As
opposed to in the ruck contests and stuff. And that is just the kind of thing that happens when you're going up against a ruckman like Brodie Grundy.
Yeah.
You tend to be more worried about the man's positioning and what he's doing as opposed to just playing your own game. Rory Lobb
could be made to look like one by Brodie Grundy on the weekend.
Rory Lobb needs to not fall into that trap and actually play as a ruckman himself, whilst also around the ground tag the hell out of Grundy.
Yeah.
But in the contest itself, Rory Lobb is big enough and tall enough
and
to
can leap
outmaneuver
enough to get there to the footy. Right. Yeah,
even around the ground as a marking target, he can outmark Grundy. Okay, he just needs to not worry about him so much in the ruck contest, because otherwise he'll fall into the trap that many other rucks have fallen into this year, and he will be monstered.
The dangerous thing here for Fremantle is that if they're not winning hitouts, their midfield has been quite abhorrent. I don't know the stats, but I've watched all their games this year, and I can say with confidence if they're not winning the hit-out, they are a step behind, because Mundy, Fife, Conker, that sort of three, even Walters, they're not overly quick in defending at all.
No.
They're losing hit-outs, they're getting burnt, and Brodie Grundy winning hit-outs and putting it down the throat of those midfielders is deadly for Collingwood. So I really hope...
I think the problem with the Freo midfield, like all of them except for the young guys, have played most of their footy with Aaron Sandler's being dominant. And they've really fed. They've never had to learn from the young age how to actually combat a dominant ruckman that's not playing for your team.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the only blights on that Fife. When Aaron Sandler's is in the team, Fife will win clearances day and night. And don't get me wrong, he still does win clearances. He just doesn't win them as well.
Yes. I feel like he's averaging something like 10 clearances a game this year.
Oh, he's still monstering. Don't get me wrong, he's a monster.
If Sandilands was inside, though, I totally agree that he'd be a 13 or something like that. So Collingwood's going to win this game.
How do you like the Reid over Cox pick? Was Cox available this week?
I think he was. He was available. Taylor Adams was not. So
Well, Taylor Adams is out for a few weeks.
He is. He's out. But they were thinking about his availability earlier this week. It was only recently that he got named not to be available. Anyhow, Cox I think was available. They've gone with Reid.
I prefer Cox.
I prefer Cox too, but I also don't hate that they may be just looking at versatility. Like Reid can play back as well.
Yeah.
Although Darcy Moore comes back, so is he really overly needed for that?
I suppose you would in the team just because of how injury prone Moore is.
Yeah. Is this a matter of Brodie Grundy's going to get the job done? Fremantle aren't going to be overly tall in the ruck. Let's give Cox another rest. Are they confident enough that this is just a rest for Cox?
Why wouldn't you use this as a
way to get him back in?
Yeah,
if he was to play
a soft game to get back into the rhythm of things.
Well, depending, if he was to play ruck, I would agree with that. If he's playing in defence, if he's playing in forward line, he's coming up against Fremantle's defence. Maybe not so easy to get back into.
Well, that depends, because it depends on the way that the Pies are able to break the Fremantle strangle,
Yeah.
I suppose. I
And
don't
that
know
just
what
comes
you call
down
it.
to, I would say it's all based on midfield delivery. If the
Yeah,
Pies are going to win this midfield battle and
If the Pies
blitz
win it
then-
cleanly enough, there's nothing
You
that the
know.
Freo defence can do,
No.
especially with a forward of Cox's height.
Yeah.
You can't do anything
Yeah.
to combat that height if the ball is coming in clean.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. I would have preferred Cox to come in. Whether they try and do the Cox Reed combo, this probably would have been a good game to do that.
Probably.
To try
Would
and
have stretched
stretch
Freo, yeah.
Fremantle, and just to see whether. I mean, if that duo can work against Fremantle's defense, which to be perfectly honest is still one of the best defenses in the competition.
Yes. Yeah.
Then it works against most defenses.
Yeah. It's a good. It's almost a measuring stick for it, but
But in saying that as well, Cox isn't a natural footballer.
no.
So him playing 1 or 2 games in the VFL just to reacclimatise himself to the footy environment.
Probably not
and
a bad
everything,
idea.
It's probably not a bad idea as well. Yeah.
But anyways,
Collingwood for me.
Collingwood for me. Next up, we've got GWS in the Gold Coast. This is at Giant Stadium, I believe.
Yep.
1:45 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep. So it's played alongside Collingwood
Yep.
about 15 minutes later or something.
The Giants welcome back Lachlan Keefe and say goodbye to Sam Taylor. Whereas
Yep, don't
the
mind it.
Suns welcome back George Holland-Smith and Josh Schoenfeld breaks back into the side, the Rockingham boy from up the road here.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Ainsworth and Jared Harbrow both go out, and Took Miller is not back yet.
Oh, yeah. Ben Ainsworth is out,
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Harbrow?
I think he's injured as well.
Yeah, right. Not really upgrades.
No, definitely not upgrades, I'd say.
Unfortunately.
Schoenfeld's got athletic ability, but outside of that, he's shown very little. And Holland Smith is Holland Smith. He's sort of... It's not upgrades.
As well as the Gold Coast have been drilled this year, and we were talking just before, they've been one of the more consistent of the teams.
Yeah, they
that are
really
sitting
have. Yeah.
with 3 wins. This is going to be a 10-goal win for GWS.
I think GWS stamped some authority on their season last week. I think it was a bit of a turning point for them to belt Melbourne.
They like playing at Giants Stadium.
They love it. I think it's a big win for the Giants too.
Yeah, that was my thinking as well. Hayek's 80+ points. I went 10 goals. I was being a bit conservative.
Yeah, being a bit measured.
The first figure that jumped into my head was 80 points as well.
Yeah,
This is not going to be a kind game.
Don't see the Suns getting a sniff here.
I swear to God, if Gold Coast get within 30 points, that's a win for them.
And it's also a bit of an affirmation as to the direction they're heading in, which they'll take. But no, GWS for mine. Who have we got next?
Yeah, there's not much to talk
No,
about.
I can't think of anything. I mean, Took Miller's out again. That bugged me, but that's about it.
Yeah, GWS. Next game, it's a Saturday twilight game. Geelong versus Sydney at Cardinia Park. Now, this used to be happy hunting grounds for for Sydney.
It did.
Sydney are coming into better form. Do they have a chance?
No. I don't think so. With Geelong's ins and outs basically just replace themselves.
What are their ins and outs?
They say hello to Asava Radaglia.
Yep.
And Patrick Dangerfield comes back.
Is he right, though?
I would doubt that he's at 100%.
Yeah.
But out goes Darcy Fort and the suspended Gary Ablett.
Yeah.
So Radaglia, Fort, Dangerfield, Ablett. He finally got that week, man. He's been asking for it. And for Sydney, in comes Dan Menzel for his first game with the Swans.
Good.
And also, which is cool, against his former club.
At a ground that he's very familiar with. Yeah, happy with that.
I like that. That's a bit of a story.
I'm disappointed West Coast didn't pick him up, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I thought Fremantle would actually have a crack at him too, but not to be. And also, Jared McVeigh comes in, while Thurlow and Josh Kennedy go out for Sydney.
Wow, Kennedy out's a big out.
It hurts them in this game specifically too. I feel like he's got a bit to offer against Geelong. He's got experience. He's a big-bodied mid. I think that hurts them. Whereas Geelong have basically just gone like for like with who they've replaced. They get
I'm feeling Sydney might win this one, and I understand that feeling because of how Sydney have performed at this ground for a long time.
And they've been good in recent weeks.
And they're getting better as well. Yeah, and I tell you what, the foil... So Buddy Franklin came in last week, and he played foil to Sam Reid, which is the way that I want Buddy Franklin
He only got
play.
6 kicks. Of them were 2 goals.
Yeah. But
it's effective, it's efficient, and that's how he needs to play.
I think Sydney's best football is when Franklin is not the main target.
Can't help but agree with that. I think
because
when they
if he's
don't
not
him,
the main target, he's not drawing, 2 defenders. Sam Reid's drawing 2 defenders.
Yeah.
Frees him up, and then all of a sudden he pops up for 8 goals in one game. You'll see this happen this year.
Yeah.
Where he's not being targeted because Sam Reid's the leading goal kicker.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Buddy have
and
a big
then
day
Buddy
in this
will
one.
just come out and go, bang! You remember me?
Do Buddy things. But,
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yes. And I see him potentially having a big one in this one. What do you make of Sydney? Because their last 3 weeks have been 5-point win over North, 5-point win over Essendon, 7-point loss to Collingwood. Are they getting
Interestingly, those 5-point wins were the exact same scores.
Are they getting better, or are they just sort of having a good couple of weeks?
No, you can see by the way that they're playing.
I think so too.
If you're just saying whether a team is good or bad based on the results, like a lot of fans do, then you're not really looking at the big picture here.
Yeah.
Sydney are playing better. They're playing a lot better. They're probably playing better at the moment than Port Adelaide sitting in 8th.
I think so.
Or 9th now, because Hawthorn passed them.
Yeah. They're in... they're in 10th, I think, Port Adelaide.
Yeah, but, they're playing
definitely
well
playing
enough to be playing finals right now. Whether they'll get that far, I don't know, but they've made extraordinary comebacks before. I think they're the only team actually in the history to go 0-3, let alone 0-6, and still make finals.
Yeah, it's not out of their reach if they turn on, particularly with this whole buddy structure that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
I do still think
I'm going to go Geelong because they're.
I am concerned for Dangerfield though, because
he can't be 100%.
No, and I would have preferred to see him out until maybe after the bye.
Yeah, and
it gives him a long time to just freshen up because he's not been at his best for the last few weeks. I know he sat out last week, but even the week before that, I think he played injured. But I feel like the last month of his playing, he wasn't at his best.
Have they got a bye next week?
Not next week, no.
Okay. So he'll get a couple of weeks of footy in before they have a week off.
Yeah, a couple of weeks of injured footy, though.
Yeah,
that's my
rough
concern.
footy. So he's going to kind of limp.
And then he's only going to have 1 week off,
and
which
we know
is
how
effectively
Dangerfield
what last
plays.
week was.
He's
I would have preferred to see him just have a couple of weeks off and then come back really fresh and just take the competition on again.
Yeah.
I would have I don't
thought
think
that,
that's
but
going to
the
happen.
powers at Geelong have seen that not to be.
I suppose they may have even rushed him back because Ablett's out.
Yeah, it could be, and they feel they're about to be tested. Can
we just have a quick chat about Ablett?
Yeah, we need to address this.
It's three weeks in a row now.
I thought
that he's done something stupid, and this is probably the least likely to get suspended. He gets suspended, and then he just accepts it. I don't understand.
I feel like by the end of the 3-week period, after he did what he did on the weekend, I feel like he was kind of at the point where he's like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to take it. Hopefully, everyone can shut up.
Maybe he was due a rest this week anyway. But why didn't he do there was a player, I'm pretty sure, it might have been Will Schofield, actually. Will Schofield, a few years ago, was due to be suspended. He challenged it, got it overturned, and then just took a week's rest anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have that on your record.
Yeah, you get away with it. I think on
maybe
your record
because they've been talking about resting Ablett for a few weeks now, and they haven't. I think they're just using this as his rest. But why would you put that blight on his career?
I don't know, hey. For me, the only reason I could come up with... I thought about this earlier.
Maybe they're sick of paying $10,000 to go to the drug.
The only reason I could come up with is it's literally the straw that broke the camel's back, It's literally like, okay, well, he's just come on. We'll just take it. Even if you don't agree with this one, we'll just take it and we'll move on. But this was the one that was the least impactful for me, the least dangerous, the least stupid.
It's a strange
one. Equally stupid. But
Geelong, though. Yep.
Geelong for me. Next up. We're in Darwin, Melbourne and Adelaide.
No, next up it's Brisbane Hawthorn at the Gabba.
Okay, sorry, it is. Few changes for this one. We've got Brisbane brings back Archie Smith, Nick Robertson, Reece Matheson and Ben Keys.
I like Archie Smith.
Yeah, out goes Walker, Hinge, McInerney,
Actually,
and Leicester.
Archie Smith was in last week's team, but he was in the extended bench.
Yeah.
So this week he's actually getting a game.
He's back in because this is a
I'm
Saturday
happy with
game,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
This is
happy with
still
that.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
So he's in. Out goes, Walker, Hinge, McInerney, Leicester, whereas Hawthorn brings back Isaac Smith and Mitchell Lewis and says, see you to Harry Morrison and Jack Scrimshaw.
Yep. Scrimshaw's injured.
I assume
I believe so.
Yeah.
And who's the other one?
Harry Morrison, it goes out.
Yeah.
So they're not losing a whole heap because Scrimshaw hasn't by any means really lit the world on fire.
He has been one of the better one-on-one defenders this year.
He's been good,
Actually,
good for them.
Statistically, I think he's lost the least amount of one-on-ones at Hawthorn.
Oh, right, okay. Well, there you go. I stand corrected. But I still, whether he's in or not, I see them.
I don't think
struggling to
Brisbane.
get over Brisbane.
They always beat Hawks, just kidding. But last year they did it twice, and I always tip Brisbane over Hawks. I actually think Brisbane in this one as well. They have been very impressed. They only lost one game at the Gabba, and that was against Collingwood, which admittedly was a big loss for them.
Yeah.
But
I didn't think they played awfully in that game. They just ran into Collingwood
at the Gabba this year. And they have done exactly what I wanted them to do at the start of the year, and they have turned the Gabba into a fortress this year.
Yeah, it's really hard to win there.
Yeah.
They played that Freo game there last week. They win by 10 goals instead of losing by a point for 9. It's going to be Brisbane for mine. But Hawthorn, Hayeks has just said you never know what Clarko has up his sleeve. You never know what Hawthorn in general have up their sleeve. They're really tough to tip this year, Hawthorn. You think they're about to lose, they kind of pop up.
Haven't won 2 games in a row.
Haven't they?
Yeah, no. They keep going win-loss.
And they're currently 5-5, aren't they? So
yes.
Yeah, of course.
It makes sense.
That's basic arithmetic.
So by that logic, if we're looking at patterns, they lose.
Yeah, and then have they travelled particularly well? I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions. One thing I wanted to ask about the Lions, I thought Lachie Neale's performance on the weekend against his old club was, and call me biased, but I think it was a little underwhelming.
That probably was.
He led them in touches with only 26. So
you got to remember though as well, Lachie Neale's not been a part of big games.
If I was to say he's still a step off elite midfielder category, really up there with that top tier, absolute elites. Would you agree or would you disagree?
I would disagree, only because there's no real sample size for Lachie Neale playing in big games.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, especially one so personal as this.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't agree on that sentiment based on the Freo game, especially when you consider since 2016, I think he's been the highest possession winning player.
Yeah, he would have been
over the course of those over the course of the last 3 years.
He would be.
He has been the most possession winner in the entire competition.
It's something that played on my mind for a while this week, just after watching him against Freo, where he was good but underwhelming, and I haven't made up a decision on this. I would agree that he's probably in the elite category, but it just got me thinking: is he a step away still? I'm not sure. Maybe he pops up this week and has a huge one. So, Brisbane for me.
Yeah, Brisbane for me as well.
Yeah. So, are we up in Darwin now?
We are, yes.
Okay. All right, we've got Melbourne and Adelaide up in Darwin.
Finally.
Yes. Strangely, not in Adelaide.
Yes, strangely, yes.
But in for Melbourne comes... These are good ins and outs for both teams. Both teams improve a little here, I feel. Melbourne's got Salem, Hibberd and Hannon to come in. And out goes Wagner, Harrison Petty and Jay Lockhart.
Yeah, so they're pretty much all upgrades. Lockhart's a pretty good player.
But he's had a quiet couple of weeks.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, and for Adelaide, in comes Gibbs, Jenkins, Lynch, and out goes Chase Jones, Elliot Himmelberg, Riley Knight.
Yeah, they're all upgrades as well. I tell you,
depending on what Jenkins does, because Himmelberg hasn't been terrible.
Wow, Jenkins has been very good. He's coming in with good form and confidence, and he's definitely a confidence player.
I think he's hot. I think he's
a confidence player. I tell you what, before you told me those ins, I was feeling Melbourne, but the team of those ins...
3 big ins, and I feel like Gibbs and Jenkins specifically have something to prove. Gibbs has had his
And-
defensive work rate
and
questioned,
Lynch
you know?
completely changes the way that Adelaide play.
He's really hard to
They
defend.
really missed him last week.
Yeah, they did. And
If Lynch was in that team last week, West Coast don't win.
and probably not, because West Coast, any team, not specific to West Coast, but I feel like any team would struggle. Like, they struggle to defend him. He plays high up the ground. He runs back. He takes the mark. He kicks the goals. It's like, man, what do you do to him?
That he plays he is the best in the competition at what he does.
Yeah, and he's
There is no
really
one that comes
trusty in the forward
close to
line.
playing him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Crows.
I think I might actually. I was very close to putting Melbourne as a certainty just before you told me those ins.
Ah, right. Does this sway you to putting Adelaide as your certainty?
Or I have to use this game as my certainty tip because I guess the only other certainty is later, and so one of us has to use this game. So I'm not confident either way.
Well, I think we've got two more 50-50 games coming up too. Are we counting Saints Port as a 50-50?
We are.
Okay.
I might leave it then because I'm not confident in saying any of these teams. This is going to be very tight because Melbourne are playing better. They didn't play well on the weekend.
I thought they took a real step backwards because I really liked them in the West Coast game 2 weeks ago, and I thought they took a real step backwards. High-X has got Adelaide, so...
Don't get me wrong. I think probably Adelaide as well.
Yeah.
With those ins, 100%. Probably Adelaide. Do you know what? I'm going to make this a certainty.
You're going to do it?
Yep.
All right.
Adelaide is a certain winner for me this week.
Okay, brilliant. Because Adelaide actually...
Because they need to. They need to win this to stay in touch with the 8.
Funnily enough, going against them got you your certainty last week. So hopefully going with them proves completely different because I need some validation.
It's funny because we've got two guys. So Joel, who does videos for the channel, goes for Adelaide, and I'm a West Coast supporter.
Yeah.
We've actually got someone else who works behind the scenes on the channel. His name's Daniel. He does some of our social media stuff, and he's also a West Coast supporter who lives in Melbourne. He said to me before I'd even spoken to Joel or anything, West Coast win 100%. And I just went, do you know what? I'm going to back in your tip here. I'll give it to him. 33 points down. I was like, Daniel, what have you done to me, man?
I was feeling really good at that point, eh?
But they came through. Good. They came through for me, so I was happy with that.
It was an emotional roller coaster checking scores.
Joel, I've got your back on this one, mate. Adelaide is the certainty this week. I'm going for Melbourne now because High-X is going against me. Why are you going against me? I haven't gotten the certainty wrong yet. Don't go with this, man.
Put the yips on him, man.
I reckon in our tips. So this is the 5th week that we've done this. Yeah. I think I've gotten more tips right than you have.
I would say that's probably correct. I actually had a really good the 2 rounds before the round just gone. I had really good tipping, and it put me up the top of my
I think that
local
round
competition
was pretty easy to tip.
They were pretty easy, but I got up the top of our competition, and then on the weekend I dropped down to like 4th. I had a terrible weekend. So
High-X, you're making a mistake, buddy.
Yeah, Adelaide for me as well. I'll go with the Crows. I think those ins are too much to go against.
Very, very, very good ins.
3 established players,
I think
3
they
young
come
guys.
back and go, we really shouldn't have lost that game. They'll come out fine.
Oh, they kind of need to win it. They're teetering on the edge of the 8 again now, and they lost to Melbourne.
Well, they're still 6th. They're still 7th. They haven't dropped or gained any spots, and they're still a game clear of 8th.
Yes, they are.
So they're still in good position, but they do need to. I tipped Fremantle, and you tipped Fremantle against Collingwood. You have giant kahunas, man. Not gonna lie.
If that's against Brisbane, then
Docker fan 101. Oh, that's Ariella.
Yeah.
You have. She's a girl, actually. You have. I can't say big kahunas. I'm going to say the other big thing. So,
moving on. We digress.
Sunday afternoon footy. St Kilda versus Port Adelaide in China.
Yes, of course.
Another dead rubber in China.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
They're not... Put an exciting game on for the folks.
I suppose the only reason that they can get away with it is because China don't know who good teams
what the
are.
exciting game is. Yeah.
They're just getting to know who Port Adelaide are.
Yeah.
Who can't afford to play home games there, despite it really actually being a home game to them. So they sell their home game because of contractual obligations to Adelaide Oval. We actually do have this as a 50-50 because the big travel You just don't know what the big...
Yeah.
The big travel suits Port Adelaide better because they're used to travelling every second week.
And they've done this before, you know, as a playing group.
And to be perfectly honest, actually, in fact, any time that St Kilda have done a big travel, aka to New Zealand, they've lost.
A couple of good ins for Port Adelaide too, which helps them a little bit.
Yeah. Let's go through the teams.
In comes Hartlett, Bonner, Burton, Lysette and Drew. These are all extended interchange.
Those are very big ins.
And out goes Laddams. And for St Kilda, it's Jaron Geary comes back, the skipper.
44 games.
Yeah.
He missed, 44 games. 44 days.
Yeah.
He missed after having... And it shouldn't be understated how serious that was.
It's a mammoth effort to get back this quickly.
Yeah.
It's
Put it this way, if that corked thigh was left untreated for even just another day, a day to 3 days or something, I read, he would have lost his leg.
Yeah, right.
That's not...
Yeah. So
you cannot state how big this
important that is. So great to see him back. Also, Hunter Clark, Nick Caulfield, and Dara Jones. I can't pronounce it.
I can't see it.
I can't pronounce that. Darragh Jones. Anyways, we don't know who he is. I got no clue.
Darragh Jones.
No outs yet from them. I'm going to go with the Power.
I would go for the Power as well.
And I'm actually going to make the Power my certainty. They've done the China trip before. These are good ins. The Saints
they've only ever
sliding
versed Gold Coast over there.
Yeah, that's true.
So their form in China, like past form in China, you would take with a grain of salt.
Yes, you would. Although I'm backing them in because these are good ins. I don't know. Hamish Hartlett, how long has he been gone for? And has he been injured?
Yeah, he was injured. Yeah,
because he was sort of coming out of favour at a point there, wasn't he?
He was coming out of favour a while ago. Just think St Kilda have the better midfield and forward line.
I don't know about midfield.
Well, with Jack Stevens not in the midfield for St Kilda, I wouldn't. No, I would disagree. Mind you, Rockcliffe's out.
Rockcliffe is out. That leaves what? Boak.
Wines is still not playing, is he?
No. If Port Adelaide brings Scott Lysette back, that's
Ryder
quite
goes
a big
back
deal.
to the forward line.
That's a big deal for them. And also...
Especially against Longer.
Ryan Burton, quite important for them. You know, was playing some good footy in defence. Yeah, obviously not in the midfield, but in defence. I'm going to go Port Adelaide. I'm locking them in.
Yeah, I would think
Port Adelaide. Certainty.
I think St Kilda... Yeah. Not good this year.
Yeah, they're beginning to slide. I mean, they've begun to slide.
They're a month into slide. They haven't won a game in 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah. Port Adelaide for me.
Port Adelaide. Next Sunday game, Essendon versus Carlton at the MCG. You never know who's going to win against with these two teams. In fact, most of the time, Carlton win.
It is precisely why I was avoiding this as my certainty like the plague.
Because you don't know.
I got no clue.
Both teams, it should be said, are not performing well. Normally, when one team is going well and the other team's going bad, the bad team wins.
Yeah, the bad team pops up.
It is almost guaranteed
on a run, and then Carlton pops up for a win after they've lost 4 in a row.
How you going? In fact, I think this was Carlton's first win last year.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So
in a really wet
I think they went 0-10 and then bang, hey Bombers, how you going, buddy?
I think it was a really wet day or something like that, maybe. The ins, we've got Dylan Clark comes in. Irving Mosquito could be a debutant, possibly, given that he's on the extended interchange now. Ridley, Bagley, Mitch Brown, Zach Clark come in. Sheo and Stringer go out for Essendon.
Yeah, big outs.
Sheo and Stringer go out.
They have no forward line. Besides Tip and Woody.
Yeah,
and what else
are you kicking
He's so hot and cold.
I mean, who they brought in here so they could play forward line? Mitch Brown potentially can play forward line for them. And he's not terrible.
No, he's not terrible.
I like Mitch Brown, but...
He does need someone to distract other defenders, though.
Yeah. Whereas Carlton bring in for Solo, Schumacher, Paulson, Lang, Garlett, Kerr, and Setterfield. Out go Dale Thomas for his suspension, Cade Simpson, and Mitch McGovern.
Why is Simpson out?
I couldn't... So this doesn't want to tell me immediately, but give me 1 second for this to load as we've come prepared this week. Simpson has been managed. Dale Thomas omitted and Mitch McGovern
one game,
injured.
Though.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
Who
Daisy
knows?
Thomas suspension is stupid to me. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I was actually going to make you argue that it was correct in the questions.
I
but
can't make that correct.
It's not correct.
No, it's not. Damien Barrett released, and don't get me wrong, I don't really like a lot of the stuff that Damien Barrett comes out, but I've got to commend him for.
I read the piece. I agree.
Backing in Daisy Thomas.
Yeah. Both sides get worse. Is essentially the tale of the ins and outs. Carlton bringing him for solo if he has a good game. Maybe
I don't know about that. Carlton. I wouldn't necessarily agree they get worse.
Well, Mitch McGovern's been playing terrible football.
Exactly.
So maybe they don't get worse.
I wouldn't say that he gets worse on
if
that
they were to replace those three, so Thomas, Simpson, and McGovern with Fasolo, Garlett, and Setterfield, say something like that. I mean, maybe that's okay.
Maybe it brings a bit of speed to them. I do think Carlton get this. I said Carlton get last week as well, and I was only just off.
Yeah.
Angrily.
I'm going to stick with the Bombers.
I think Carlton.
I'm going to go with the Bombers. I think, maybe their leaders finally come together. Maybe they just have one of those weird Essendon games where they go, we're actually going to rock up and play some footy.
Yeah.
Heppel, Merritt, maybe Tipungwuti has a good game. Look, I'm not confident in this, but I'm going to go with the Bombers.
Maybe they swing Hooker forward, actually.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, that's really what they do, isn't it? That's how they see it. And Mitch Brown can play back.
They don't have a forward. Maybe they just... Well, Carlton, you don't have to worry with Carlton's forward.
Yeah,
so you can go one tall defender down.
Yeah, and run him forward. That could be a bit of a key for them.
Yeah, this will be a very interesting game to watch over the weekend.
You'll know it won't be an interesting game. The Eagles and Bulldogs, which is up next.
Yeah. I hope it's not interesting.
No, won't be. Where are they? Sorry, and what's the time?
Last game of the round, West Coast versus the Western Bulldogs at Optus.
That's so ugly. And
I'd hope,
I don't usually hope West Coast win, but after what the Bulldogs did to me with my certainty last week, I hope they get absolutely pumped. And
West Coast are coming into better form.
They are. Where do you think West Coast are at? Have they done enough to show you that they are where they're supposed to be? Yes. Given that their win last week was very good, arguably the best on the season yet. Outside of that run of 4 wins has come against probably inferior opposition, but the win on the weekend, very good.
Yes.
Exciting second half.
I mean, they haven't... they've come up to show against 2... sides that are better than them at the moment.
Yes.
They've come up against Geelong, who they got smacked at Cardinia.
Yes.
Yeah. But they have played GWS at home.
Was a tough game.
And they beat GWS at home quite convincingly.
Yeah.
They played Collingwood at the MCG, it should be noted, and they won that pretty convincingly.
That's a huge win.
They have won the games that are tough to them. They've probably dropped... They've lost a game that they were expected to lose against Geelong.
Yeah.
They probably shouldn't have lost it in the way that they did, but West Coast has a habit of doing that sometimes. Anyway, last year they went on a string of 3 losses in a row after their 10 wins in a row. So... they can be up and down. As long as they're going all right by the end of the year, I'm happy. And they are, you can see that they're getting better week in, week out.
Arguably the old adage of you can only beat what's in front of you as well. Ins and outs for this one. No outs for West Coast as of yet. That'll obviously come through tomorrow. But their ins are Braden Ainsworth, Brendan Archie, Josh Smith, Lewis Jetta.
Jetta comes in, obviously.
Yeah, he comes back after his suspension.
The other 3, I've never... Ainsworth... I'd like to see have a run with.
I think it's a good game for him to come in and have a run.
The other 2, I don't care for.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing that. Ainsworth, I'd like to see come in and have a run. I watched Ainsworth win a Resi's premiership with Subiaco a few years ago, and he was electric. It's only the Resis, but he was really good. So I'd like to see him come in. The Dogs, out goes Ed Richards, Hayden Crozier, Mitch Wallace, and in comes Gowers, Shackey, Young, Riley West, Rourke Smith, Ryan Gardner, Tory Dixon. So West and Gardner are both new. Gardner, I believe, was their mid-season draft pickup.
Yeah. To be fair, that does help their team more than it does detriment their team. But it's not going to be enough unless they come and they really come to play. I think that there was a stat that went around. The only time that this decade, maybe, that the Dogs have actually beaten West Coast at home was in that 2016 finals.
Ah, right. Okay.
They don't play in Perth well.
No, they don't. They even, I believe, in their premiership year,
they lost to Fremantle on the cusp of finals.
Yeah.
Then they came back following
and decided they were legit.
Decided, hey,
we
want to win a premiership
finals,
this year.
The only actual valuable out I believe they have there, because Ed Richardson's been a non-factor so far this year.
Yep.
Hayden Crozier, meh. Not terrible, but meh.
He's been serviceable. Yep.
Yeah, but not irreplaceable.
No.
So Mitch Wallace comes out, I think hurts him a little.
Yeah. But their ends more than make up for it.
I think Shaki, he doesn't do... he hasn't shown much, but he probably is there to provide...
a target, and he provides a foil.
Which is something they really missed against North last week. Yeah. I mean, they needed that. So, West Coast is going to win this game easy anyway. It doesn't matter.
All right, that's our tips. Let's go back to our questions. Where, again, over time, we seem we can't seem to get this right. Let's start with your one first. So, what is your question?
So, mine to you.
That's right. Yeah.
At full tilt, Richmond, when healthy, is the best side in the AFL, given how they've gone with the amount of injuries they've got so far this year.
Well, they're the best team. Let's start with their forward line, okay? Tom Lynch has taken a while to get into some good form. It was predicted that he would shake up their forward line and make it a bit worse, which happened. Let's be fair.
Initially, but eventually they're going to settle.
And that was the predicted voice, right? That he was going to get better and he was going to make the forward line better. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, we haven't been able to see that forward line be better with him and Rewalt as a target. I actually thought Tom Lynch would get worse with Rewalt out, because Rewalt was the forward to go and smash packs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rewalt comes back in and he's able to do that, as well as provide a foil to Tom Lynch. Tom Lynch starts to take the best defender. Jack Rewalt starts getting off the chain a bit more.
Yes.
What this does mean, though, is that their smaller forwards become a bit less involved, but more dangerous.
More dangerous is good, because they do tend to thrive when their small forwards are up and out.
Yeah. So they become less involved, therefore increasing their energy levels. So they get more dangerous around the ground ball, because they are able to run their opponents off their feet more often, right? The midfield is understandably elite when it's up and running. You got Cotchin, you got Dusty running through there. You got some other players who I can't think of off the top of my head. Prestia and Josh Caddy can run through the midfield as well, very well, really, especially if he's not needed in the forward line as a tall next to Rewalt. That's going to be Lynch. So Caddy gets an opportunity to run through the midfield and actually show what he can do, because he was actually pretty good in Geelong as a midfielder.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it was surprising when they traded him.
And obviously the back line, even without Rance, and Rance might apparently get back at the end of this year, depending on how deep into finals they go. He probably won't, but the Tigers' defence is probably one of the best in the competition, with Grimes and Asprey. And the running outs of McIntosh coming out and Hooley and everything. Yeah. They are a very unpredictable team. Yeah. Now, Lynch probably provides some stability and predictability, but predictability isn't wrong when your players on the field know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of predictability
it really helps out guys like small forwards.
Second to none.
Yeah.
That's why they're the best when they're up and running.
So I'm arguing they're not the best now.
Yeah.
And I've got really little argument, because I actually really believe that they are the best when they're up and running.
Why didn't you argue that? Because I could have made a really good argument that they weren't.
It's just nice to make you uncomfortable. The argument that I have for them not is I'm going to look just to one team that's better than them, because that makes them not the best. And I'm going to say at full tilt, Collingwood is the best team in the AFL, just because that midfield is lethal. Brodie Grundy, to me, is the best player in the AFL. And I just think they're a better side than Richmond when they're at full tilt.
Can Grundy win a Brownlow this year?
Yeah, I think he can. I think it's going to be tough.
Is there anyone that steals votes from him?
Heaps. heaps, because I feel like sometimes Still Sidebottom's going to steal votes, and
But
sometimes
has there
Pendlebury
been
will.
anyone stealing votes from him this year?
Well, it's hard to say if they'll steal votes for him, because really they might get more kicks, but do they look more dominant on the field? No. Like, Treloar butchered the ball last week. He went at something like 15% efficiency by foot.
That doesn't surprise me. He normally butchers the ball.
Yeah, so...
I really hope... To be fair, I really hoped that Gawn won the Brownlow a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he was probably the best chance outside of Lance Franklin maybe half a decade ago getting a Brownlow.
Yeah.
Grundy's probably the best chance of getting a Brownlow outside of a midfielder. So I really, even though he's a pie...
It'd be good to see him.
And, you know, if you're not a pie supporter, you hate pies. Yeah. I really, really hope a non-midfielder wins the Brownlow.
Yes, I would love to see that. Anyways, moving on.
I don't necessarily agree that that Collingwood are the only team.
No. You could throw West Coast in. You could throw GWS. You could throw Geelong in.
I could throw West Coast, but my main thinking was GWS. And Geelong.
AFL.com.au on their 9 things we learned last week called GWS the out and out flag favourites.
Yeah, that's
That's a huge call for a team that.
That's recency bias.
Yeah, it is
because GWS have lost horribly at times this year.
Yeah.
Why would you say that
after beating Melbourne?
One win,
it's against Melbourne.
It's a stupid call, man.
I didn't agree with that at all.
Saints coach Alan Richardson is possibly the next outed coach this year. I want you to say why does he stay, but before you say that, because that is your opinion, I'm going to present my argument that he's gone, and I'm going to list a few reasons why. I haven't written them down, so I'm going to be going off the top of my head because I didn't get time to write them down this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, we both came underprepared.
Alan Richardson came in into a team that was supposed to have been developed or developing, and going through a rebuild with their previous coach. Can't remember the name for the previous coach.
Scott Waters.
Yeah, and Scott Waters was... basically, at the end of his tenure, was described as being a decent development coach, right?
Yes.
So when Alan Richardson took over, he was supposed to be putting kind of the cream on the crop for this young team. And within maybe 2 years, they'd be tilting.
Yeah.
Right? That hasn't happened.
Not at all. No.
And now that core... he's probably gone past it, and a lot of his core players that he's even brought in, or the core players that were there, are not even playing. So you got Paddy McCartan, who's not going to be there, or he might not return. But at the moment, he's not playing footy.
No,
right?
he's a non-factor at the moment
for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Dan Hanbury was an odd one to bring in the first place, because by the time the Saints get back up and running for finals, he's gone.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Why didn't they bring in a player who was younger?
Yeah. So Hayek's is saying Hanbury plays his first VFL game this week. That's actually good knowledge to know. I'll keep an eye on that.
That is good news to hear. But then you've got also Jack Stevens out with mental health.
Yes.
They have no defence and everything like that. So they're going to have to go through and rebuild effectively. Like a couple of years ago, they were just off of making finals. Yeah. And now they're probably going to have to go through another rebuild or a mini rebuild or anything. So what has Alan Richardson actually done to make this team better? He hasn't. He hasn't done anything.
No.
And you go back and you look at the Western Bulldogs. Now, Brendan McCartney was of the same ilk. He was described as being a very good development coach. And then Luke Beveridge came in, put the cream on the crop. 2 years later, flag.
Yes.
That's what Alan Richardson was supposed to be doing. And yet he hasn't done anything of the sort. And you could compare him to Nathan Buckley, but Nathan Buckley overturned that list. He wasn't given the list
he did
to
it
then
himself.
go something with, which is what has happened with Alan Richardson. So can he coach? I don't think so. He's gone.
I tend to think he's gone, but I don't want him to be gone because a lot of the factors that you listed were outside his control. Paddy McCartan getting concussed outside his control. The Jack Stevens stuff, unfortunately, outside his control.
But before Paddy McCartan went down, he wasn't looking to be the player that they wanted him to be.
By no means was before all these factors happened, was Alan Richardson looking great. It's funny. It's a good comparison with McCartney Beveridge to Waters and Richardson because both Waters and McCartney were probably unfairly dismissed after they did quite just. I know Waters was filthy when he was dismissed.
Yeah, I didn't agree with. I think Brendan McCartney's departure was because he lost the players.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
A bit stiff, but I agree with it.
Yeah.
Scott Waters, I didn't think had lost the players.
No,
and he'd only just started to actually, see
Really,
some fruition of the development. I think he was hard done by.
And he was sort of pulling them out of that hole that Ross Lyon left them in.
Yeah.
So I think he doesn't because those factors are out of his control. But also, I just feel like recruitment needs to be better before you sort of look at the coach and drafting specifically. I picked 7 and 8 the year before last year, and they took Clark and Caulfield. Now, I'd have to go back to that draft to go beyond 7 and 8 and see who was still on the board. But there were better names still on the board that could have made a difference.
Yeah.
It's hard when it's drafts. It's all hit and miss because you've never seen these guys play AFL footy before, so I get that. I feel like there are other factors at the club that are really hindering Alan Richardson. I do think he'll be gone. You've sort of persuaded me to believe why he should be gone. Your argument was really good. You've sort of hindered my thought process a bit. But I think he will be gone. Should he be gone? Potentially not. I just don't think that they've got key position stock at all. He's never had a good ruckman. He's never had, much of a forward line. Josh Bruce has been the best forward. You say that,
but there was a time there where Hickey and Longer, I think it might have been just Longer, looked to be breaking.
They did.
And nothing happened.
I also take a look at the playing group and players that are senior players that I feel have taken a step backward this year. One of them is Seb Ross. I don't think he's...
What do you mean just this year? But his entire tenure. You look at Armitage. Armitage was one of the best players in the comp.
Last year, Seb Ross was getting 30, 35 reflects on demand.
I don't think he's a good coach.
The only player I can look at, actually, you're probably right. This probably reflects poorly on his coaching. That the only player I can look at and say they've taken large steps forward in that list is Jack Steele.
Billings has come along this year.
Billings has come along, but he's sort of flatlined the last couple of weeks too. He hasn't done too much.
Yeah. Nunes at the start of the year. So when St Kilda were playing well, these players were playing well, but now all of a sudden they've fallen off the map.
Yeah.
St Kilda have fallen off the map. So what has happened? Why are they not playing well anymore?
Yeah.
Like, some of these players can still be playing well, but the team not be playing well. But why are these players not playing well now?
Yeah.
And it just happens to coincide. I want to leave it... we might as well go to 8:30 now. 4 minutes. 4 minutes until we leave you. Coaches gone. Obviously, Brad Scott's gone. Alan Richardson, we think probably is going to be gone.
He's probably gone. Yeah.
Who else is going to be gone at the end of the year?
Probably.
If we go with the struggling teams, one off the top of the list, Brendan Bolton.
He's probably gone. He gets a chance to see out the year.
Don't like it.
I'm not a fan of it either.
I really wanted to stay there.
He wasn't given those opportunities that Richardson was given that you listed.
Yeah. He's only been there 3 years.
Yeah, so I don't
just give him the fourth. See if something's happening
because that would be the end of his contract, wouldn't it? A fourth year.
I think 2020 is the end of his contract.
So I would like for them to see it out, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it is as well.
Not with how bad they've been this year.
Essendon, John Worsfold.
Maybe gone, but I don't know if he's kicked out the door or if he's kind of just like, I'm stepping away.
I think he's gone at the end of the year, only because I know his first year was a write-off.
Yeah.
But since then, the Bombers have been...
They haven't done much, and but I don't know if it's
they haven't
kicked
been,
out the door or if he's just going to step away and go like, whatever, I'm done with coaching.
They haven't been in a rebuild. They're supposed to be challenging, but they've never looked close to challenging.
Yeah.
So what do they do from here? Do they go, well, we need a new young crop of players? They've got young players. I just don't think they've got the right young players.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think there's young players they've got it quite hot and cold. Like McGrath,
I think they have.
Really hot.
I think they have a good list.
Yeah.
They have the list to be able to push.
Yeah.
They don't have the coach.
Nah, and that could be Worsfold kicked out the door. But I also think Worsfold's not fussed by being kicked out the door.
Well, what I think would be better is either Worsfold stays and does like a handover plan.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors handover plan. Don't make it public because that's not going to work.
No. He's too much pressure on the coach taking over.
Yeah. But have an internal takeover. You're going to take over this team in 2 years' time. We're going to extend yours. So you do actually most of the coaching, but John Worsfold is going to cop the heat and everything so that you can just develop. Yeah. Right? Or put Worsfold as a senior assistant and chuck someone else in the job and let Worsfold... Because I think Worsfold is probably now better as an assistant
Yeah,
as opposed to
I
something.
think
The
so.
game has passed his line of thinking.
And I don't think he actually cares that much. He kind of just fell into the Essendon job where he was like, well, it's available, it's a 1 year thing, and then he just signed on again, I think, and just kept going. And I don't think he's phased by not being.
Who else? Who else is under the gun?
Ross Lyon's name was thrown up. He will stick out that contract.
Ross Lyon last year was. This year, his team is performing better.
And said during the week he's committed. Someone, I can't remember what I was listening to, but they brought up a really good point about Ross Lyon, that he's never really had a group of young kids to develop. St Kilda didn't have it when he got to Freo.
The first time.
This is his playing
team.
group, and I feel like he's more attached to this team than he's been attached to other teams in recent times. Like he's out there hugging and kissing players.
Mind you, I'd say that if Fremantle were playing poor, if they were a poor team this year, he'd be gone.
He'd be under the pump.
Yeah, he'd be gone.
Yeah, he's already under the pump, but he's not gone.
I don't think he's under the pump.
I think
anymore.
he's seeing out his contract.
I think the questions that were given to him this week were on the back of the Brad Scott situation.
It was 100%.
Are you going to go to that job?
It's the footy world trying to start the coaching merry-go-round. John Longmire is the only other one, and I don't think
I think he stays
he's
as well.
Fine, he's safe. If he left, it'd be of choice to probably go coach North Melbourne.
Because this is really, it's the same thing with Ross Lyon. This is actually becoming John Longmire's team as opposed to Ruse.
Yeah. Exactly, and they get to see it through, and I like the clubs.
I don't think there are really any other coaches that are under the pump right now.
I think the only ones that I see moving on are Scott, Bolton, Richardson. I don't see any others being moved on this year. Luke Beveridge, his side's not performing great, but he won a flag. So
I think he needs to go.
Possibly, but I don't think the Bulldogs had pulled the trigger.
And the only reason I think he needs to go is because his team is so unsettled. And that's on him.
Yeah, that is on the coach.
And I don't understand why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what he says. He wants a versatile team, but it's not working.
No.
He needs to stop the experiments.
Yeah.
And just go back to playing the players. Because I guarantee you, the players start playing in their actual positions that they have played in their entire lives.
Instead of trying to be versatile.
And the Dogs are in the top 8 right now.
Probably. They've got the talent
entrenched
for it.
in the top 8 right now.
They've definitely got the talent for it. We know that.
Yeah,
we've seen them do it. Yeah. But other than that, I think that's how it goes.
Well, that's going to be this week.
Yeah.
Footy Rivals this week. Let us know what you thought, guys. Don't forget to join our Discord. None of you have done it so far. We really
come on, guys, jump on.
You need to as well. So
I need to just get on Discord. I'm not on.
We want to talk to you during the games. We want to talk to you during the week about news that's dropped, and we want to share our opinions in real time as opposed to waiting for now to be able to tell you what our opinions are. Now we're going to be doing that anyway.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, but we would still like to be able to do it during the week and everything as well. So make sure you do check out our Discord as well and jump on board with that, because we may end up moving some of our chats and everything through the Discord depending on how we're going.
Yes.
But that is us this week, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Round 11 is the last round before the buys. It should be noted that next week we are going to be releasing some of the mid-season reviews for the clubs that are on their buys during that week. Now, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what the clubs are, but we've already divvied up the videos. They're under process. They will be releasing next week. I've got one, Justin's got one, and Joel has one as well. We're taking on 2 teams each, so make sure you look out for those. They're going to be very interesting to see what our opinions are on the clubs mid-season.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
Thank you for tuning in, guys, and as always, this has been your AFL Access. Bye.